Go. Okay, we're live and we're actually recording this. My name is Professor Paul Gruen. This is the first of hopefully several other sessions that we'll have to talk about PHP and PHP programming. This is a part of Manchester Community College in Manchester, Connecticut. The CST258 class, spring of 2014. Today's section. Today's section. Oh, hey, Carlene, we seeing you now. You got excellent. Um, but we got you. Carlene? Do you see our desktop? I don't hear you. Your audio's on. Type. Just do you see? Use instant message. The best thing to do in video chats like this is get a wireless headset. It's I personally like, or a wired one. I personally like the Logitech 760. It's an awesome headset, and basically I always keep a where's my cable here? I just keep it has a USB cable, and I just always keep it plugged in, and it's right there. And then I also keep speakers on my machine, so if somebody calls me, I can hear it. Just to give you a little idea of the type of online my computer setup here, you guys, is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 screens. And I actually had 5, but I took away another one. So I actually put stuff in a parking lot, and that helps. So if you only have one screen, you're definitely limited. I highly recommend bare minimum is 2 screens for just any development and stuff like that. Find a cheap monitor and use 2 screens, even if you're on a Mac or a Windows machine. My goal today is I am going to do this from scratch, and just what the only thing I will not do is install XAMPP. I'm going to walk through, in a sense, my preparation for this session is the fact that I've only done this 100 million times. I have not actually prepared this class session, but I know the things that we need to talk about. So, as you can see here, what I've got going on is I'm saving this link for later. I'm going to write some notes as we go along of stuff that's important. So let's first of all talk about tools. And when we talk about tools, the first thing you need is an editor. And I highly recommend Notepad++. And that you need the editor, Notepad++, Notepad Plus, or is it plus? And as you can see, I'm gonna, Notepad++. I'll boot that up. And it's nothing more than good old Notepad, but it's way better than the old Notepad that you're used to using. If you're on a Mac, you definitely need to, I recommend getting Text Wrangler, or BBEdit has a text editor. You will need a FTP software, FTP client, and I recommend using FileZilla. However, you can definitely use more other FTP clients. An FTP client basically allows you to take your files from your machine and then upload them to your website. You need to have come on. There's definitely a delay in the typing here because of all the power we got going on. You need to have a local web server, and that would be on, you want XAMPP, you might want MAMP if you're on a Mac, LAMP if you're on a Linux box, or WAMP. I really don't recommend WAMP, but it's for a Windows box. So what do these initials stand for? And sometimes you actually might see it with 2 P's. So the local, when you go online and you get a website or you go to a website, it's a computer somewhere out in the internet cloud, and what it's doing, it's running software that allows special things to happen. Now, most of the HTML that you normally do and build doesn't need a web server to work. If you built a web page with HTML and some graphics, you can just click on the HTML page and it's going to display fine in Explorer or Firefox or Chrome or whatever. But you need a web server if you are going to actually have many people connecting to your website to display the pages to all of the people connecting, and to run programs like PHP and MySQL. So PHP being an interpreted language actually needs, you write the PHP code. What happens is PHP takes that PHP code, turns it into HTML, and then sends it out to the internet, ultimately to the person's browser. And since PHP code will not run generically in a browser, you need a web server running to make the PHP work. And that's why we install XAMPP. Now, if we take a look at the letters, the first letter is basically for the operating system. XAMPP is it's the cross operating system. It's like it will run on Mac, it will run on Windows, it will run on Linux. The M is for Mac on MAMP, and L is for Linux, and W is for Windows. A stands for Apache, M stands for MySQL, and P stands for PHP. And the second P also stands for Perl. And so sometimes Perl may also be included, and most of the times it is, in when you install a web server. The other piece you will need is you need web hosting. And that's basically a website. I've given you a bunch of, for instance, I'm going to be using my website, www.paulgruen.com. It looks like just about everybody's purchased a website and it's got something up there, or you found a free web service there. So these are the key tools that you need. If you're interested in actually creating tutorials, I highly recommend, if you want to do video stuff like we're doing here, for only $12 a year, screencast-o-matic.com is really worth it. And I've used that tool a lot, and it's a great tool. It's not required for this class. In some of my more advanced classes, what I typically do is I actually ask students to create tutorials. If you want to get extra credit for anything, I would love a video tutorial. Recommend about shorter 5-minute tutorials work really good, no more than 10. Think about it yourself. You don't want to watch a 20-minute, 30-minute video, and some of the students in this class are going to go, oh God, I got to sit through an hour of this because I missed it. So now let's talk about getting started. So what we have is, let's assume XAMPP has been installed. So the first thing we need to do is run our XAMPP software, and I think everybody's done it. You've all downloaded the XAMPP, and you've submitted your homework assignment. What I am doing this week, just by way of catch-up, I think it worked really well last semester that I had those Word document sheets for you. Nod your head if you agree. Those Word documents, and you're upset that I don't have them right now. So my plan is I am actually taking this whole week off. I have a lot of vacation time I have to use, and there are two priorities. Well, let's see. Tomorrow my priority is to do my PHP paper that's due on Monday. So that's going to my PhD qualitative research paper. So that gets done on Monday, and then but on Sunday. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have two goals. One is the things my wife wants me to do, which is the backsplash tiling in the kitchen and lay the hardwood floor in my bedroom. But then you guys are my next priority. And what I'm going to do is get the sheets caught up for Module 1. You can resubmit them even though you've gotten grades. That way you have that document that will end up being in the final project folder, and that we kind of have this I need to do it for the class. And then I will also create the sheets for chapters 1, 2, and 3. And what it looks like as I was reading over the chapters, basically there's 2 or 3 pages that end up saying you do this, 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 and you create first.php, and you create the next page.php. And that's basically going to be the same methodology that we use throughout the class like we did last semester. So promise, Scouts Honor, that this week is catch-up week for you guys. I've had a whole lot of stuff going on, no excuses, but we're in good shape. We'll get it all done. So now, we've got these tools in place, and what we do is we click on when you've installed XAMPP. What happens is, here I am on the C. You need to locate it. Here I am on the C drive, and you see that I have XAMPP, and then I click on XAMPP, and this is all the stuff that makes XAMPP work. We'll be coming back here in a minute. Now I'm going to go start probably all programs, and then scroll down to the bottom. There's XAMPP, and then I want to go to the control panel. The control panel will pop up and appear, and there's several things that you can be running. Now, the FileZilla on XAMPP, you don't want to be running that. FileZilla here in XAMPP is actually an FTP server that would allow other people to connect to your machine. You don't want to run that. You're going to run FileZilla separately as the FileZilla client. The only 2 things you're going to care about for this class are Apache and MySQL. And right now, you don't even care about MySQL because we're not at the database part of the class. So all you need to do is run Apache. So now if I click Start, we can see that this has gone on. Now, you'll notice that port 80 is being used for Apache, and port 443. A couple of people had emailed me. So Apache, the web server, is now running. A couple of people have emailed me and said they had problems conflicting with Skype. Well, if you go Tools, Options, and it should appear, come on, Tools, Options, Advanced, Connection, you can actually change the port. And here it's recommending 241, but there's a way of changing if you have a conflict here, that you can shut off and not use port 80 for the incoming connections. So if you're having Skype and XAMPP, it's Tools, Options, Connection, and that'll save your problems there. So now, as we've mentioned, XAMPP is up and running. We can see that it's up and running, and it's happening. But how do we know that it's up and running? So let's pull up a browser. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see, I'm going to open up a new window. Now, you got to remember, XAMPP is running on your local machine. It is a local web host. And so what we do is, instead of going out to the internet, all we should have to type is localhost. Now, by default, this happens. And notice here it says localhost XAMPP. You are right now at the main page of the whole XAMPP server, and there's a lot of stuff here. There's applications, there's PHP code, there's a bunch of different things that we can do and use and run. And as the book goes through stuff, you'll see more things on it. The key thing you'll be using right here is this PHP myadmin. You'll be using that later when you start dealing with database stuff. But now watch what happens. So now, where is all this stuff working? Where is this page coming from? So now, if I go, here I am on, I'm going to move this guy out of the way. I can see you. Let's see, I'll put you up here. Okay, so if I go to my C drive, and if I go to XAMPP, notice there's a folder called htdocs. If I go into htdocs, you'll see there's an XAMPP folder. But what happened is, how did I get to the XAMPP folder in the browser right here was by this index PHP page right there. So if I take this and if I rename this, so index.php in the htdocs folder, so let's write this down, is in the XAMPP htdocs, rename index.php to index-org.php. Because the code for this file, so if I rename this to .org.php, now if I type in localhost, now I am actually getting the directory of the htdocs folder. So localhost, what's happening here is localhost, when you type that, is a command that basically the browser says, I'm looking for a local web server. Do you happen to have one running? Well, yes, we do. We have XAMPP running, or we have MAMP running. And it's going to look for the htdocs folder. The htdocs folder on your local host is very much like your public HTML or your www folder on the web server that you have. So think about the relationship between the htdocs as being that high level. When you go www.carlenethomas.com, you land in the www folder. Or it might be public HTML. Some other web servers might call it something different, but it's the high level root public folder of what your people would see. Now, what we need to do is, and then what happens is this index.org PHP, so if I go into Notepad, File, Open, and I go to C:, I go to XAMPP, I go to htdocs, which is that high level, and if I open up the index.org for original, which used to be index.php, I see this code. And this code here is basically saying, do you know what I want you to do? I want you to go to the XAMPP folder. That's all this is doing. It's redirecting you to the XAMPP folder. You don't need this, but it's good you don't need it to do this, and you wouldn't have that on your website. You'd use that www folder and the public HTML as kind of your main page. So now, what we need to do is we need to set up for this class. So what Carlene did, and Carlene, you're going to need to make an adjustment to your work. If we now go to www.carlene, C-A-R-L-E-N-E, Thomas.com, she lands right into her her PHP Basics folder. Okay, so you did the assignment excellent, but what happened is you took all that code that was probably in a PHP Basics folder on your machine. Shake your head. Did you have a PHP Basics folder? And then you put it all up to your website. So this is what has to happen. A couple of different approaches to this. So I'm in htdocs, which is like my high level. For me, my high level, if I go to paulgruen.com, my high level folder is actually a Drupal site that needs a lot of work. But my high-level folder is this Drupal site, but I want to be able to do stuff for this class separately. And you might want to do other things with your website beyond this class. So what we're going to do is create kind of a little mini website or mini folder structure within the within our website. So let's do this. And what we're going to do is I'm in the htdocs folder. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new folder called CST258. Now, what some people have done, which is totally fine, is at that high level, they created a new folder called PHP Basics. And all of the PHP Basics code now lives in there. So I happen to have, if I can find it here, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Let's because I had already done it. Let's see if I go to desktop, Carleen PHP Basics. Here's this. So here's all her code. Control A, Control C. And then I'm going to go back now to C, XAMPP, htdocs, and I'm going to go into the PHP Basics, and I'm going to dump it, all that code in there. Now, if I go to my local host, so here is local host, and I'm going to refresh the page, and I see that I now have a CST258 folder with nothing in it. I hit the back button, and I see I have a PHP Basics folder, and there's all the code. So Carleen, what you need to do is create a PHP Basics folder out on your website and put that code in there. Now, what you guys do at this high level, this local host high level, I really don't care. You can build your own website from that. And then you can go off to different folders. Maybe you want that folder to be your project. What you could also do, and so now at the CST258 level, what I'm going to suggest we do is, here I am on the C drive, htdocs, CST258, right click, new folder. I think we should create a folder called book. I think we should create a folder called project. And ideally, I think what we should do is create a folder called PHP Basics. And if I click here, and if I Control V, it still remembered everything. So now the other option is that now we have a folder called book, and I'm going to lay this out on Monday with the homework, how to do this. So I'm kind of figuring this out. And so when I put the sheets that you'll do, I'll say create a folder like this, this, and this, and I'll show out the map and the picture of this. So in your htdocs folder, create a folder called CST258. The CST258 book PHP Basics project. And this is basically the PHP Basics. Most of you have that done. Put that code in there. You've got a nice little resource. The book, let's put all of the assignments in from the book. Let's put that in there. Does that make sense? And then let's put our project, and we haven't talked about that yet, but basically your final project for the class will be a website of your choice to use and to do based on the stuff that you've learned. So the PHP Basics assignment is actually a good assignment to kind of quickly show you all of the commands and structure of PHP. Hopefully you learned a lot by going through that. There's a lot of little Lego blocks that we learned. Now we're going to go through the book, do all the assignments in the book, and go from there. But if I take that and I put this out on my website, that's going to be kind of dull and boring and not all that exciting. So now I need to go to let's see, do I have here? Boom. let's see, home. Let's go to ComNet. 123.276.9.1. This should look familiar to all of you. Let's go to Fundamentals Programming. I gave you a link right here, Sitepoint Basic Template. This code right here, this HTML code is great HTML code to use. If you look in the book, I don't know if you can see it, but right up on the top of every one of the HTML samples that he gives, he's using doc type HTML public quote dash W3C DDT XML blah 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 transitional blah 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 blah, and all of this stuff. This is old school HTML. So wherever in the book he uses that, all you need are these two statements right there. That's it. So use this page as a template for all your work. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to go Control C. I'm going to go into Notepad, and I don't need this guy anymore. I'm going to go, and I've got a new one, Control V. And I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm in htdocs. I'm going to go to 258 under htdocs, and I'm going to call this template.php. Now, one of the first things to do if you have any websites, any web pages at all, the first thing you can do is whenever you create a web page is never use HTML again. Make all your web pages end with .php, because a HTML code will work perfectly on a site that has PHP. Then what you get to do is then add the PHP code as you need to. One of the things I'll be doing probably next week is teaching you, or the week after, teaching you a thing called the include statement. And what that allows you to do is create a header block, a footer block, and then just use the include, and you don't have to put that same code all over the place. So I'm going to and I'm going to save this. And there's no code here. I actually don't, right here we got these scripts. We're not going to use this JavaScript stuff right now, so we really don't need this. And we don't have any CSS, but that will be good for later. I'm just going to go H1, my template, /H1. And now I'm going to save that. Now, if I go back to my website, back to boom, 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 let's see, boom. Okay, so now here, I'm back at localhost, and if I refresh the page, notice now at localhost CST258, all my folders are here and template PHP is here. So now if I click there, now I have my template. So what I'm going to do here now is take the my template here, and I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm in CST 258, and I'm going to call this index.php. So now I have template.php that I can always pull up. And I might be modifying my template to do certain things. And that's always kind of a starting point. So I don't have to retype all that standard HTML code. Now what I've got here is, I'm on my index, I'm going to say, welcome to my CST 258 website. And then, let's see, let's do it as an unordered list. So I'm going to go unordered list, and we'll be able to add CSS to this later. L1, and I'm going to say book, L1, and I will give you all this code, by the way. So PHP Basics. This code will be available when I put the assignment up. And L1, and then this will be project. Now, a space href equals, boom, okay. And let's see if I remember correctly, it would be, boom, boom. So what I'm doing here now is basically I'm building a menu. And you should all know the basics of this from your HTML. Like I've said in a couple of the announcements, if you're not strong in HTML, you've got to spend some time on that. And remember that in HTML and in this stuff, all this stuff is always case sensitive. Okay, so now what I have, and then, I might put a paragraph tag here. Hi there, this is my sample website. So let's see if this is going to work. I save this. I now come back here. And now if I refresh the page, notice that my index page is now taken over. Whenever you have a folder on a web server, the index page in that folder will automatically appear even without typing index.php. That's part of the magic of a web server. That's part of the magic of XAMPP. Now, if I click on book, there's nothing there. And matter of fact, okay, I have a typo there, so what I need to do, that's the wrong book. This probably needs to be here. I put this in the wrong place. Boom. 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 And then let's make this consistent. Now, hopefully, right now I'm not worried about pretty on this. I'm not worried about graphics and colors. Thanks. Okay. There, let's save. Now, what's really nice is I can make a change to my script. I can save it and then just refresh the page. Now, if I click on book, now I'm in the book directory. Now, the book directory does not have an index page. Don't worry about it. We don't need that yet. I click the back, PHP Basics. Oh, I have an index page. This is Carlene's assignment because we moved all her code into PHP Basics. And here's my project. We have that. For some reason, this is a link, so I think I did something wrong. And I know exactly what I did wrong, is I didn't put any A tags at the end of this. So there. I didn't close that up. There. So now we save this, refresh the page, and watch this link go away because my typo will be fixed, and then I could build my page here. Hopefully you'll have a lot nicer menu, and I'm going to actually put together some stuff about pulling up a responsive template and things like that. So from here, I think what we have now is we basically have an index page, a CST258. Now we haven't created an images folder. We haven't created a CSS folder. We haven't created a JavaScript folder or any other subfolders that you might need to support the website, but we have a basic structure. And think of the book folder, the PHP Basics folder. You won't be doing much with that from here on out. And the project folder has little mini websites that are living within CST258. You might need, in fact, create a CSS folder in your 258 folder. Also, at the high level, at the local host level, which is like your www folder level, you actually would change. Remember here, we took this index PHP, and what we did is we actually renamed it to -org. You could create your own index PHP page and build something else. So for instance, Carlene, you have carlenethomas.com. You might want to actually take, so let's do that as an example. So I can take this page here. I'm going to go File, New, and then I'm going to go File, Save As. I don't want it in 258. I actually want to come up to htdocs, and I'm going to go Save, and then I'm going to change these links. And then here, CST258 stuff. Change this now to CST258. Now remember, this is living in the htdocs folder, and then I'm going to use this as an example as welcome to Paul Gruen's website. Here you might say welcome to Carlene Thomas's website and do whatever you want. I'm going to go File, Save As, and it looks like I saved it in the wrong way. I needed to go index.php there. Good, save. Now I have this. So now if I go back, so now if I refresh this page, notice that I'm not seeing the directory anymore of htdocs because index.php is taken over. If I was to rename this, but I see this link, I'm now in the 258 folder. So that's the sense of the navigation of your website. Now, personally, on my local host stuff, I don't necessarily need to do that at this point because what I really do want to have is at the htdocs, this index org, that's got some important stuff on it. It really does. It's actually your menuing system for XAMPP. So I'm going to take this index PHP, hyphen it, and I'm going to say example. Now I'm back at localhost and refresh. And the good news is you got a video to watch if this is overkill. There's a lot of information. And now if I go to index.org, remember this guy? That was your XAMPP. We never lost it. We just renamed it. If I hit back, I got PHP Basics. That's because we had put a copy of that. But more important, I have this index example. This is a sample of that what I actually might put out to the web. Click on here, and now I've got the website for the class. And then I could go stuff for the book. So now let's take a look. We've got some things working locally. Here is the hardest part of web development coming up now. And that is taking the stuff that you have locally working and getting it out to your server. In my graduate level class, I actually use a thing called the badge system, and students have to earn badges. The first badge they have to earn is called the FileZilla badge, and it actually looks like, let's see if I actually have that. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see, Quinnipiac 507 badges and boom, come on, where is it? Oh, it's in 505. Just because 505 badges, new badges. And if you see right here, this guy here will get you every time. Just like Godzilla, FileZilla will get you every time. I guarantee it. I promise you, it will get you absolutely every time. So, if we go out to paulgruen.com, what I don't have is CST258. Page not found. My Drupal stuff's kicking over and says that doesn't exist. So let's do that. So now I go, boom, I find FileZilla. It's got to pop up somewhere. Here it is. Within FileZilla, you'll notice that there's several windows and several sections of the tool. This top section of the tool right here, this is the dialog to show you the stuff that is happening. The bottom section of the tool is the stuff that's in queue. If you're downloading or uploading a lot of files, you'll see stuff in queue. And then here, notice here it says local site, remote site. This is the sense of local site is my server, remote site is the server that I'm connecting to. So what we need to do is we've done stuff locally and we need to get it out to the server. In FileZilla, if you go, some people actually do host, username, and password and do a quick connect. What really works out the best is go File Site Manager. So again, FileZilla, go File Site Manager, and you can add all sorts of web servers. See all these these websites that I have? These are websites either from students or sites that I maintain and work on. Right now, you can see paulgruen.com, and it's ftp.paulgruen.com. So if you're having trouble connecting to your website, typically it's ftp.paulgruen.com, or your host provider will tell you what it is you need to do. Then it's your account name and then the password for the account, and then click connect. So now what happens is, and I'm going to make this bottom part a little smaller, and you can see that the activity is up above. I'm going to make this a little smaller. You can see here that I'm at this root level. This root level is kind of like the XAMPP level on your machine locally. So you remember back here, we went XAMPP. This XAMPP folder right under is all the stuff that runs your website, but it is not the public-facing stuff. I can't tell you how many times students take their stuff locally and send it here to this root level. It happens all the time. But what you will have is you will have a folder that says public HTML or www. If you have a GoDaddy account, you actually might have, like Carlene, I don't know what your account is, it might actually say www.carlene.thomas.com. Some people actually have the domain name of their website at this level. It depends on your web hosting server. But all of this stuff at the root level has absolutely, it makes your website work, but isn't where your website files go. So the public HTML and the www folder are actually the same thing. Public underbar HTML is the real name of the folder on that server. www is called a symbolic link that is referencing the same folder name. So if you go to either HTML or WW, you're in the same place. Notice here this little shortcut like arrow, that's telling us that it's a symbolic link to someplace to a different folder, and that happens to be public HTML. I'm going to click into the www folder, and if you see, I've got a lot of stuff in here. This index page, let's see, if I take this index page right here, that index page in my www folder is actually a Drupal web page. So when we go to paulgruen.com, you're seeing this. And I'll prove it to you, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this page, and I'm just going to call it index 88. I'm going to refresh my high level, and I'm getting a permission denied. I'm getting error stuff happening because they, it ain't working right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it that way for a minute. I'm actually going to keep it that way for a minute. Notice here on my local site, so what I need, so you notice I'm not in my root directory anymore on my remote site. I'm at the www folder. But over here, I'm actually on my E drive. My E drive is actually where I store all my website stuff for my clients. I have a, matter of fact, what I can do is if I just go like this, and if I show you this websites folder, see all of these folders here? Those are tons of websites that I maintain and work. And so, matter of fact, if you go to Path Place Daycare, you can see a lot of stuff and versions of my website. But for this class, we're not on the E drive, are we? Where's our XAMPP folder live? It lives on C. So let's go to C:. So now I'm on the C drive. Now let's go to XAMPP. Now I'm in the XAMPP folder. Where does stuff live? In the public stuff that we just created. This will be a question on the homework. It'll be in the HT docs. Now this is looking a little more familiar. Notice we have CST258. We have HT docs. So what I'm going to do is I'm in the www folder on my remote site on paulgruen.com. I am in the HT docs folder right now on my local site. Notice it says C:XAMPP. It says WW here. Remember that I created this page here called index example. I'm going to rename that to index PHP for a minute. And I'm going to upload index PHP to my website. Remember the error that I just got here because I had renamed that to index 88 PHP? Refresh it. Look at that. There's the Paul Gruen website thing that I had done locally. So what you might want to think about doing is in your HT docs folder, think about how your www folder might be. Or if you wanted to, under HT docs, you could create a www and then a CST underneath that. It's really up to you. But what the real deal here though is this, let's see, where am I here? This index PHP file, I'm going to call this example. And my 88, I really need my Drupal site up and running. So it's there. So now I get this back to running. Now I got my Drupal site going. So in my www folder, I actually need to get my CST258 folder out there. So now I'm at HT docs, and I can actually see this folder right here. When I click, and I make sure I'm on www at the other end, when I right click and go upload, it's sending everything out there. You can send a folder in the complete folder tree or one file at a time. it is very common, a very, very common error, is that you might be in one folder here and one folder there, and you actually think you're in the same place, and you sent the wrong files to the wrong folder. Remember a couple of minutes ago I said a lot of times people throw stuff up in the root directory? They also throw stuff up into the wrong directory. In my graduate class, the first class they take before they take 505 is 501, and they build a WordPress site. And what happens is they take the index page that they've created for my class, and they put it in their www folder, and they lost their WordPress site. That would be like me overwriting the index, the Drupal page on mine, like I just did. But because what happens is they didn't put it in their subclass site. Now, take a look what happens here. We have the www folder. If I click on here, look what I've got. I now have a folder called CST258. If I open that up, I now have a book, PHP Basics, and project. The reason there's question marks on book and PHP projects is because there's no pages supporting those at this time. So now let's go out to the website, paulgruen.com, and I need to add this to my Drupal menu, and I will, CST258. Look at that. That's the stuff that I had done locally because I took that CST258 folder and I brought it down. I click on the book page. I don't have permission because I don't have a page there. What you'll probably need to do, and my suggestion actually, I think what actually might work out pretty good is if we take the PHP Basics index page that makes the looper of all those files. I think if we use the index PHP page from PHP Basics Assignment into the book, it's going to do the same thing for us and might work out really sweet. And then we go to PHP Basics online. You can see I have Carlene's PHP Basics homework, and I click back. I go to project. There's nothing there yet. So now what I could do is I'm going to go to the book page, the book folder. I'm going to go to PHP Basics. I'm going to find the index PHP and upload it. Now I come back to book. Oops, let's see. Boom, I uploaded it. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah, now I need to click on book. And why did it take that? I must have downloaded the whole thing. I didn't mean to do that. Boom, I got to look at what you got going on. Oh, do you know what? It might be mapped out. I got to take a look at her code and see how it's reading that. So, but the PHP index page in that will then drive the rest of the assignments. I'm going to actually kill this right now because I need to look at that code. Say yes. Now, from there, we should have the basic templates of stuff going on. So we've been about an hour. The next deal is if I take a look at the assignments, and the first thing is going to be, I think there's the first web page that you make is called first.php. Basically, I want to take the pages from chapters 1 and 2 and build them into the book page. And I want to have an index page that will read all those files. And I'll go through that and I'll have that laid out for you, the how to set that up, and I'll make sure that the index page is set up correctly. So for you on that. So that was like wicked overkill, a whole lot of stuff. I mean, if your head is like this, like really like here, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. If you've been in any of my classes on ground, the first 1 or 2 days is like students are saying, why am I in this class? There is so much so fast. I always talk about the story when I jumped out of an airplane for the first time. I did make it, obviously. I'm still here. And this was years ago in the 90s, I think it was. Yeah, it must have been, let's see, 84, maybe late 80s, early 90s. A friend of mine and I jumped out of an airplane, And they spend all day. First of all, you sign these papers basically saying if anything happens to you, it's not our fault. And you sign all these papers, you watch all these legal videos. Then they teach you about jumping out of the plane, how to jump. You lean back and you go 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Then you look up and you see if your parachute opened. So what happens is, and if it's not open, then all the things they told you to do, well, you got to pull this. Then if that doesn't work, you pull this. If that doesn't work, you start praying. And so at that point, what happens is you get up there and you're on in the plane and the door's open. There is no door, and the wind's blowing. And I actually flew. My stepfather owned a plane. I was very comfortable with planes, but I'd never actually jumped out of one. And you're hanging onto the edge of the wing, and you're going, ah, what happened? And like your whole body, your mind shuts off. It's called extrasensory overload. It's like shock on steroids. So finally, I'm hanging on the wing. I finally let go. I go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1. Oh, wait a minute. I got to take a look. And my parachute had long since opened. So that sense of extrasensory overload, if you're feeling that right now with this, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. If this was a lot of information in a little time, as we've talked about before for these online classes, every student wishes we had done these on ground. Even working with Professor Null, the director, my boss, he wishes that this could be an on-ground class because we would actually be doing this, building this, and then sending it up and making sure it all worked right then and there, and you wouldn't be left on your own as much. But so don't panic. Allow the first couple of weeks to be totally nuts and crazy, and we'll get there. And I promise from here on out, this last week, you haven't had my engagement. I haven't even checked online to see about discussion board posts and stuff like that. I have responded to emails. That's always the best thing to do, is always to email me. But I'm going to be getting caught up, and I'm actually going to be getting assignments and stuff posted. And if we do a couple of more of these sessions, I think that's going to help as well. Hopefully this video will upload to YouTube, and you'll have a resource to refer to. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to decide. I'm going to keep the video going, the recording going, and let's go ahead and open up the mics and let's go around the room, so to speak. John, Keisha, Carlene, Patty. Patty, you look like mysterious in that really dark there stuff. And tell me, give me a heads up. Was this helpful? Was this good? Do you feel a little better, or what key questions do you have? John, go ahead. You're first. John. Great. Okay, so you're comfortable with the FileZilla. You're comfortable. Have you ha, have you used XAMPP or web servers locally before? Right. Great. Okay, so you're in good shape. Uh-oh, we got a black cat crossing your path there, Keisha. Okay, good. So you're in good shape. You're comfortable with this, and you see a structure that we can use for this class with the CST258 folder. I think that's going to work good for us, and I'll definitely have that in the documentation that will be up on Monday before I go to bed. Keisha, what's your kiddies think about all this? Okay. And you always pull through. You always panic and you worry, but you always pull through. Any questions? Great. So a lot of times, traditionally, what happens is when I've taught this class before, it was that type it, FTP it, and test it out on the server. And I'm actually this is kind of new, is running it more like a real developer would, and that would be, let's do it locally and make it work locally. And that's kind of our dev environment, and then we put it out into production once we know it works. Okay, right. Carlene, how you doing? Yep. Right. 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 So what happened was you were at that root directory, that home directory, and you loaded up there, but you really needed to go to whatever that subdirectory was, which was the www. And I'm even saying now from here, within that subdirectory, create a subfolder out there called CST258 and put everything in there. Does that make sense? Okay. Anything else, Carlene? And then Patty in the shadows. We can hear you great. So the real thing on HTML5 is use that standard piece there and be looking around for free HTML5 responsive templates. HTML5 responsive templates, and look for a couple, download them, and what's really interesting there is they won't be PHP, they'll be HTML, so you can download the zip file, unzip it, and just like what I do is I create a folder called templates, and I download all these zip files in it, and then I explode them out, and I just start looking at them. And there's two things to look for when you're looking at responsive templates. One is, do you like how it looks? And then two is the code simple enough that I can change it? Because sometimes some of these templates are really, really hard and really, really complex, and don't make it hard on yourself. If you take a look, one template I like as a nice starting point is a template called Brownie. Brownie's a nice template. Anything with a bootstrap template can be a nice template. There's tons of them out there. Let's see if I go CST 258, ICM 507. So is this one responsive or not? So no, this is slightly responsive, except I don't have the menu for it. I actually built this one myself. How about 505? That's not even responsive at all. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. UB doesn't have it. Where's FileZilla to see what folders I have out there? 505 fall. What was that? Nope. Two. I thought I had a responsive entry banner. Boom, 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 boom. 507. Okay. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Could you post that out for people? and have them reference the page number, on that as well. So UB CSS C. Let's see. I think this. Boom. UB dot CPSC 550. Oh, did I must have. It looks like I cleaned up all of that stuff because I was going to do some remodeling. So I guess not. So we'll if you take a look at BRO, if you Google free HTML responsive templates, there's tons of them out there. And what a responsive template will, and there, let's find, boom. So here, if we go to this and we demo it, what's the key about responsive templates is this, is that it looks good in the browser, and then as you come down, and it figures because of Firefox, let's go to Chrome, boom. Okay, did it change? Yeah, it's messing up on me. Why isn't it changing? Well, that one's not working. So, free responsive templates. Um, Notice here how it changes. So notice that it's here, and then, oops, and then as it gets smaller, it's now sensitive for devices. So now it will look good on a mobile device. So I don't know in your HTML classes if your teacher actually talked about responsive templates or not, but what you really want to be looking at is when you do web development seriously, you have to make everything responsive because that way, whether it is on a browser or a tablet or a phone, that it will look good. So spend a little time researching simple, free HTML5 responsive templates, and it is perfectly acceptable to put one of those up in your www, your htdocs folder. It's perfectly acceptable to use that as the starting point for your projects. For the PHP Basics, don't worry about it. For the book, don't worry about it. We would just want down and dirty PHP code for the book stuff. But for your CST258, if you want to have some fun, put a template up in that folder and then link to book, projects, and PHP Basics. If you want to do something different, if you want to create a WordPress site in your www folder and then have a link to CST258, create a WordPress site and then build some pages off of that. But really take that www folder and leave that for future growth for you. But build everything under CST258, then you'll life will be a lot easier. Okay, and for sure there. So it looks like we've got some people. John and Patty have some HTML experience, so they're a little comfortable. Keisha and Carlene, you're kind of in the middle there, where you're going, I kind of get it, but my head's expanding. So you're all in a good place. And thank you for allowing me to create this video. I promise by Monday that I'm going to have some Word docs and more clarification of what the assignments are going to be. And does this work out? This was this was an hour and a half today. I usually don't like to take this long. I like to try to keep it about an hour, but I think it was important to kind of get the basis started from. And keep helping each other out like you guys always do. You make my job really, really easy. by the time I sometimes log on to something and see it, you've already solved the problems for each other. Email me, that's the best way to contact me. And I am also available for one-on-one Skype sessions as well for this. But right now, be looking at if you for all those of you out in the listening audience, make sure you have XAMPP, MAMP, or WAMP installed locally. Make sure you have a web server. Those are the first two assignments. PHP Basics, the next one. You will learn so much in PHP Basics, but just by going over these little things, that chapter one becomes easy, right, guys? We've already started chapter one. Is it just PHP Basics goes over every, and you've all programmed, so none of this logic stuff is really that new to you. But now you're seeing how PHP works. So once you've got the PHP basics, then start on the book, and I'll be listing, page 5 to page 7, create this, put your code here, give me the link, and get it out there. And that's how it's going to kind of be like that. And I'll do the same thing like I did in the MySQL class, is I'll ask you questions, and I'm going to want you to fill in the answers. And I think that really helps to make sure that your students are doing the reading and stuff. Last time around, I'll go in the other direction. Do you have any questions, concerns? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Patty? Patty, do you? Carlene? Eh, Okay, Carlene? Nope. Keisha? I'm good right now, she says hesitantly and stuff. And John, you're in good shape? So you're fine. You're fine. You're just in this class. I'm going to give due dates, but I'm going to be flexible. That I mean, ultimately everything's got to get done by the time I post your grades, and so yeah, I mean, don't try to wait to do the whole book the last week. But right now, module one and module two, let's try to get those done by and start getting into module three this week. So, and just it really is going to be, and I think I did lay out the chapters for each module. So at least you know the direction out there on the site. So let's see if I pull this right. Let's see. So if we go course content, you can see module two, chapter one, chapter two, and so, and theoretically it was, but I kind of caused things to be behind. So get module one, get module two. I'm almost thinking next time around that module three might be a part of that chapter three might be a part of module two. So dig into there. So right here, this is where I'd be working at chapters 1, 2, and 3, and it's those are the first set of goals, and then chapter 8, and then it's going to get hard real quick because now we're going to be using MySQL, and you're going to have to be doing the PHP admin stuff. And when you start doing the MySQL stuff, locally, you will need to be running your MySQL server, and what you will need is when you go to localhost. Oh, so notice that I still have that old index page working. I really don't want that guy. And that what I've got here, htdocs, this, uh, is, if you remember this org, this page here is your friend because this is going to get you to PHP myadmin to get this working, and you're going to need to have your root password and stuff like that to get that working. I got to find out what's going on with mine, why it's not working. But to get into PHP myadmin, and those of you who were in the MySQL class, you already know how to do the MySQL stuff from the prompt or maybe from the workbench. But here, PHP admin is basically a web-based workbench to create your databases and to do a lot of your work there. And I think the book covers that. It looks like it's going to cover that pretty good for us. And if you're more comfortable doing your PHP MyAdmin stuff just out on the server and you don't want to deal with it locally, that'll be fine. Whatever works, if you can get it working locally and then get those scripts out there, I'm not sure how that's going to play out yet, and we'll just see how it happens. But I'm really hoping that this week I can actually get through like the first 6 chapters and get really ahead of you guys. I've taken the week off because I got a lot of stuff going on and I want to get you guys set up so you have plenty to do. And as I mentioned in one of the um, announcements, you got to remember this is a 4-credit class, not a 3-credit class.